Well, your summer barbecue might be getting more expensive. The price of beef is skyrocketing to a record high. And
it's a challenging beef environment here. And the government says they expect beef prices to rise, beef and veal prices to rise almost 7% this year. And the government says they expect beef prices to rise, beef and veal prices to rise almost 7% this year.
So why the spike right now, Christine? What's behind this?
You've got smaller herds. You've got fewer family farms. You've got 7% fewer farms since 2017. You've got inflation and high interest rates making a very challenging environment.
Canada bans U.S. beef overnight, and the shock is brutal. The move ignites instant backlash as furious ranchers cry betrayal and politicians scramble to contain the wildfire. What began as a trade decision has erupted into a fierce battle over pride, safety, and survival.
I was looking at the price of a pound of ground beef, and 3 months ago it was $4.99 a pound, and a week ago Saturday it was $7.99 a pound.
Canada just slammed the doors on U.S. beef. One announcement and suddenly an entire industry was left reeling. The headlines were everywhere. A ban on American beef, delivered with the kind of force that made ranchers choke on their morning coffee. Cattlemen in Texas and Nebraska couldn't believe it. Politicians on Capitol Hill were fuming, and ordinary consumers were left scratching their heads, asking, wait, what am I grilling now?
Almost 90% of Americans now say they're stressed about grocery prices, which have been up for three main reasons.
The move felt like a thunderclap, sudden, sharp, and brutally dramatic. For decades, U.S. beef had been crossing the northern border with ease. Canada was one of the top buyers, soaking up billions worth of American steaks, burgers, and ribs. And then, slam, door closed. But here's where things get tricky, because the ban wasn't the full stop it looked like in the headlines. What I'm about to show you will make you question whether the American dream was ever real.
Well, your summer barbecue might be getting more expensive. The price of beef is skyrocketing to a record high. And
see, Canada's move wasn't a blind strike. It came in the middle of what people feared could be a nightmare for the beef industry, mad cow disease, or BSE. If beef had a boogeyman, this was it. The disease was terrifying, not because it was common, but because of the horrifying possibility it carried. Infected cattle could mean infected food, and infected food could mean a human health crisis. For Canada, this wasn't just about trade, it was about protecting public safety and, let's be honest, protecting its own cattle industry too.
Beef prices have soared to all-time highs, with many families feeling the squeeze. Economics correspondent Paul Solman looks at the factors driving prices higher.
The fear spread like wildfire. Every headline about mad cow sent shockwaves through kitchens and grocery aisles. Consumers were spooked, restaurants were nervous, and nobody wanted to be the country caught serving tainted beef. But at the same time, critics couldn't help but ask, was this really about health or was it politics in disguise? Because when billions of dollars and national pride are at stake, those lines get blurry real fast. And here's the twist. What happened next made ranchers question if their livelihoods were even in their own hands.
I buy less meat, and now we're looking at more beans or tofu, which my family isn't, especially the guys aren't super happy about.
Canada didn't go all in on a total ban. No, they carved out a loophole, a velvet rope that let some U.S. beef sneak through, but only under strict, almost humiliating conditions. Younger cattle only, special processing rules. Essentially, Canada said, if your beef doesn't fit our checklist, it's staying out. It was like standing at the entrance of an exclusive nightclub deciding who gets in. You, 20 months old, come on in. You, 30 months? Sorry, not tonight.
Canada just made a huge mistake, and it is hitting you guys where it hurts. You see, they thought boycotting US beef was a smart move, a little jab at Trump's tariffs, but now prices are through the roof. The grocery stores are empty and families are struggling.
This half-ban, half-exception strategy didn't calm things down. It made them worse. It was confusing, it was selective, and to US cattle producers, it was insulting. They weren't just losing money, they were being told their beef wasn't good enough for the neighbor who had been eating it for years. That stung. But here's where it gets crazier. What followed turned steaks and burgers into political weapons.
And the US Treasury has put its final order in to make pennies. It's begun officially phasing out the coin.
The US beef industry is enormous. We're talking billions in exports, millions of jobs connected to the cattle supply chain, and a reputation built on being the global beef powerhouse. Canada wasn't just another buyer, it was one of the top markets, a guaranteed outlet for US ranchers. Cutting off that flow was like taking out a star quarterback in the middle of the game. The damage was instant, obvious, and painful.
You probably noticed almost $12 a pound, up about 8%. The American Farm Bureau Federation saying that there's really strong demand. The Tyson, the meat company, saying it's a challenging beef environment here.
What I'm about to tell you will make you see Washington in a whole new light.
Our herds have been declining, and that's really catching up to us in terms of the total number of animals going to a meat packer, so supplies are declining.
The backlash wasn't just anger, it was desperation. People who had built their livelihoods around beef exports now saw their biggest trade partner questioning their product. It wasn't just about money, it was about credibility. Nothing bruises an industry faster than being branded unsafe.
Since the pandemic, food prices are up over 26%. So we're having sticker shock every time we go to that cash register.
And while Canada was busy defending its ban as a health measure, the US was in meltdown mode. The fear wasn't just that Canada had turned its back, it was the possibility that Japan, South Korea, or Europe might follow suit. If one domino fell, the entire beef empire could collapse. And here's the bombshell. Canada's move didn't just stop at one border. It spread like wildfire across the globe. Other countries were already nervous about mad cow disease, and Canada's ban gave them the perfect excuse to tighten restrictions. Japan hesitated. South Korea got jittery. Europe watched closely. One by one, buyers started second-guessing, and every hesitation cost U.S. ranchers money.
Since the pandemic, food prices are up over 26%. So we're having sticker shock every time we go to that cash register.
For U.S. ranchers, this wasn't just financial loss. It felt like betrayal. Decades of branding their beef as the gold standard, gone.
Ground beef is up 11.5% since just last year.
Ground beef is the highest price that it's ever been.
Years of building trust with international buyers questioned in an instant. When allies like Canada stop believing in your product, it plants seeds of doubt everywhere else. What began as a health precaution snowballed into what many called a beef cold war. No bullets, no bombs, just bans, threats, and finger-pointing at every trade negotiation. It was pride versus paranoia, and the stakes, pun fully intended, were sky high. And the numbers, what I'm about to lay out, will make your jaw drop.
We've had weeks with beef production down 7 and 8% compared to a year ago.
So yes, Canada's ban was about mad cow disease on paper, but in reality, it was about power. It was about who controls the dinner plate, science or fear, trade or politics. And here's the kicker. Even when the ice began to thaw, the scars never healed.
The lowest level since 1951 is shocking. It really is shocking.
The years rolled on, and slowly, very slowly, restrictions eased. Borders crept open again. But the cracks never disappeared. American ranchers lost contracts they never fully got back. Canadian producers had to prove their own beef wasn't tainted by association. Suspicion lingered, because this wasn't just about cows and cuts of meat. It was about how fragile trade really is when fear takes the wheel. Canada's move proved that even a whisper of risk could reshape markets in hours. Billions lost, alliances tested, industries shaken, all because of one word: unsafe.
They think because of what happened on the news, seeing the premier sign all of those interprovincial trade barriers, that now we have the capacity to send to them. And unfortunately, that's not the reality.
For the US, this was a brutal wake-up call. It didn't matter how many safety checks or certifications were in place. When politics and fear collide, science takes a back seat. Safe beef wasn't safe from politics. So here's the final punch. The next time you flip a burger, you'll never look at it the same way again. Beef stopped being just food. It became a battlefield. Every steak, every burger, every shipment across a border was tied to power, pride, and politics. That juicy ribeye sizzling on your grill? Behind it is a history of bans, tariffs, and shouting matches that reshaped trade between two of the closest allies in the world. So next time you flip a burger, remember, you're not just flipping meat. You're flipping through one of the messiest, most dramatic trade fights in modern history. Beef fed stomachs, sure, but in this case, it also fed egos, rivalries, and a bruising fight that left scars no grill could sear shut. Like the video and hit the subscribe button to get more updates.